4 vertical wells were dug, 500 feet each. Charlie and Ross are over there working on it.
As you can see, all 4 wells are completed. As they drilled, they inserted a 6-inch casing into the ground to protect the wells from collapsing. But once they hit bedrock, about 14 feet down, the casing was no longer needed for the remaining 486 feet because the bedrock is hard enough to create a natural borehole. Once the boreholes were complete, it was time to put the pipes in. And believe it or not, they go in 2 at a time with a U on the bottom of them.
After the pipes went into the wells, next came the grout. The bentonite grout is really the secret sauce because that increases conduction between the piping and the earth.
And then it was time to put our trenches in, to connect all 4 wells and give them a path into our house. Our trench is about 5 feet wide, 5 feet deep, with a 6-inch layer of sand at the bottom.
Next, we run the horizontal pipes that traverse from the wells into the building. And the sand is important because it will help prevent any sharp rocks from puncturing the pipes.
So each one has a supply and return, so there's actually 8 total pipes. 4 supplies, 4 returns are gonna make their way into the building. Let's continue helping the guys.
The horizontal piping that runs from the geothermal wells to the foundation wall are connected by a process called thermal fusion.
Now they're cutting the 1¼ inch high-density polyethylene pipe to length. And now they're using the socket gun to create thermal fusion by heating up the plastic pipe and holding it together. Once the pipe is heated up, they're going to remove the heat gun and then connect the pipes together so you get a nice watertight connection and a properly set pipe. Then they remove the vice grip. All right, here we go, coming through.
And made this little styrofoam separation for the pipes. And the reason we have this PVC pipe here, because believe it or not, I have to put a retaining wall off of this, and I want this to make sure there's no pressure on these pipes at all. Almost there.
All right,
Going in.
going through.
All right, let's get another one.
Here you go, Gabe. All right.
All right, that's the last one.
So we're down here in the mechanical room, and all that geothermal piping we saw outside is coming through the foundation wall. We have 4 supplies, we have 4 returns, and Derek here is making sure we have a watertight connection.
Right, and to do that, we use something called a link seal. Actually slide over the pipe and then goes right into the bore, and use a socket, a ratchet, and it just expands that right into it. And you know what? There's no groundwater coming in at all.
And after that, they're gonna fill the system with water. They're gonna hook up a pressure gauge like this and bring it up to 70 PSI pressure. And they wanna make sure that we don't have a leak, that it's not gonna drop. And on top of that, they're gonna watch it over time before it gets backfilled, because now's the time to fix the leak.
Smart idea. And they also use water opposed to air because it's much easier to see water leak out in that trench than hearing a little air whistle.
That's right. So next up, we just need the equipment.
You know what? It's gonna be here before you know it.
Alrighty, awesome.
Well, Ross, I have seen plenty of your mechanical design layouts from boiler rooms like this, but I tell you, this is art.
Yeah, this one wins, for
It's
sure.
just,
Yeah.
you see it, you know, it doesn't always get piped like this, you know, so everything is logical and simple, really. It seems complex, but it really isn't. Right. And look at this, it's almost like artwork. Look at the ductwork. It's like they've painted it in perfect.
Everything's dialed in
I
perfectly.
wish it was always like this.
I know, you're telling me. So this is where the geopiping starts,
Yep.
right? So here's the 4 supplies and the 4 returns coming through the foundation wall. They're connected to these circular pumps.
Super efficient pump.
And this circular pump is going to be on the entire geo loop, right? So it communicates from the geo heat pumps to the geo field. This is 50 degrees on this side, and the heat pump elevates it to 120 degrees to heat the building,
Yeah.
or it can be cooled to 45 degrees to cool the building.
Right.
All right?
And these heat pumps always seem so confusing to people, but inside it's relatively simple. It's got a really efficient compressor inside that can change its speed, and you got heat exchangers inside, and that'll actually compress the refrigerant to get it hotter, get it hot, or release the refrigerant to get it a little colder.
That's right. And so now we can take that 45-degree water that when we're cooling and store it in the chilled water tank, right? So this stores nice cold water.
Yeah.
We can also take 120-degree water and store it in the hot tank, right, for heating the building.
Right. And this tank's really interesting. This is where we store all the heated liquid that we're going to use. But the other thing is this amazing heat exchanger that goes down inside here that has potable water go through it. So fresh water comes through, comes down. It picks up the heat from that 120 stored. And now it could go to the faucets, but actually it goes over to this tank right here. This is a hybrid water heater, and that has a little element in it. But what's most important is it's got a heat pump on the top. And what that does is these rooms can be 90 degrees because you've got all the heat coming off of the pumps and the piping. And so now you'll take that, instead of having it be too hot, have it go right into the hot water, have plenty of hot water.
This is going to air condition this room and take that heat and put it into the hot water.
Right.
It's
pretty smart.
amazingly efficient.
Pretty smart.
The other thing too is that when we are taking this chilled water, right, and we're cooling the building, we're sending that over to air handlers like this. So we have return air that's coming through a filter.
Yeah.
It comes through the air handler. This is our chilled water or cooling piping.
Yeah.
It goes through the blower and then makes its way to the hot water coil for heating.
So here's our hot water heating coil, and the air blows across it like an automobile radiator and heats the air. Now, we don't have radiant everywhere in this building, so in some cases we're going to have air handlers like this, where the thermostat's going to say, I need to be heating, and it'll use this coil, or it's going to say, I need cooling, and it'll be using this coil. And that's where you get that simultaneous heating and cooling that's important to you. You know, you look at this, it's just art, but it is a fair amount of industry. I mean, this is a big amount of money by the time you start talking about the wells and the piping and the ductwork and everything else. People would say, why?
Right.
What do you say to that?
I mean, it does seem over the top when you first look at it, but the homeowners had a really long-term viewpoint on the project, right? They had a 50-year time horizon. And when you have a really long time horizon, the capital cost, the upfront cost doesn't matter as much. And on top of that, because everything here runs on electricity, we size the solar panel system to generate the electricity that the heat pumps use in addition to all the circulator pumps. So effectively, they are net zero, meaning they don't have a cost to heat and cool this building.
And there's a tax credit too, right?
That's right, federal tax credit as well.
This is the place I'm going to want to sit every time I come here, not in the living room anymore.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.